Hey there, fellow thrill seekers and believers in the unknown. Ready to dive into the realm of the supernatural? Get ready to be spooked and amazed as I bring you a true paranormal ghost story that will send shivers down your spine. Get your popcorn ready and turn off the lights as we venture into the unknown together. But be warned, these tales might just make you rethink what you thought you knew about the afterlife. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our spine-tingling adventures. Let's get started, if you dare. So let me share with you something that happened to me in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Years back that still sends shivers down my spine whenever I think about it. You know, when people hear the word devil, they usually picture a red, horned creature straight out of a horror movie. Where in my case, it was something different. Something that felt even more unsettling because it was human. Picture this, it was a regular day. Like any other, I had been cooped up in my house for too long and felt an undeniable urge to get out and do something. Anyway, I decided to head over to a local thrift shop. You know, to pass the time before dinner. I wasn't really shopping for anything specific. Just trying on clothes, messing around with mannequins, and casually eavesdropping on the drama that seemed right out of a reality TV show, thanks to the fellow shopper. As I wrapped up my shopping, I started feeling this odd sensation. It was like my body and mind were disconnected, and chills raced up and down my spine. Nosy and all at me, but I tried to ignore it, brushing it off as a random bout of uneasiness. But let me tell you, my head was spinning, and for a brief moment, I couldn't even remember where I was or why I was there. It was as if reality had taken a surreal turn, a sensation that had me off kilter. As I made my way out of the store, having not bought a single thing, which was quite a feat for me in a thrift shop, I stepped into the parking lot, and that's when things took a turn for the eerie. About halfway to my car, a truck pulled up beside me, and without a second thought, its engine died down. I glanced over, slightly perplexed but not alarmed, at least not yet. The sky above seemed to darken suddenly, like a thick cloud had shrouded the sun, and everything around me appeared hazy and distorted. Out of the truck stepped a man in his late 40s, and something about him set off alarm bells in my mind. It was a gut feeling, a sense of dread that made my heart race. I was practically walking on eggshells, determined to reach my car parked a short distance away. But then, out of nowhere, I heard a voice, not audible but more like a jolt of terror that ran through me. It was a primal instinct, an urgent feeling that screamed at me to run. I turned my gaze back to the man, and for the first time, our eyes met. I can't even begin to describe the terror that gripped me at that moment. His eyes were like endless voids, devoid of any humanity. A grin stretched across his face, revealing teeth that were more rotten than yellow. It was like he was mocking everything good and pure in the world. And in that split second, I knew I had to get away fast. Without hesitating, I bolted for my car, his already in hand. I leapt into the driver's seat and then locked the door and sped away as if my life depended on it. The feeling of being pursued, of being hunted, was so intense that I couldn't even spare a glance in the rearview mirror. I just had to get away from whatever that man was, from the darkness that seemed to emanate from him. After what felt like an eternity, I finally pulled over, my hands trembling, my heart still racing, and a cold sweat covering me. I couldn't catch my breath, and I was dizzy, overwhelmed by a mixture of fear and nausea. It was a feeling that I'd never experienced before, or that seemed to cling to every fiber of my being. I was left in awe, unable to comprehend the sheer terror of what I had just encountered. As I sat there, struggling to calm myself, something strange happened. The world around me began to brighten again, as if a switch had been flipped. The darkness receded, and the blurriness faded away, leaving everything in sharp focus. And then it hit me, the realization of what I had witnessed. It was like a bolt of lightning struck me, revealing the truth in all its terrifying glory. In that horrifying parking lot, I had come face to face with evil itself. That man, with his cold, soulless eyes and that wicked grin, he wasn't just an ordinary person. It dawned on me that I had been shown a glimpse of the devil. Can you imagine? The devil in all his malevolent glory. It was a sight that no one should ever have to witness, a presence that chilled me to the bone. I still remember that day, October 19th, 2022, as if it happened yesterday. It's a memory that haunts my thoughts, a reminder that there are things in this world beyond our comprehension, things that can shake us to our core. So, next time you hear a chilling tale, just remember that sometime the most terrifying stories are the ones that are rooted in reality. Back in 2021, during the early throes of cold and stormy weather, the chilling of it unfolded in tranquility. California, nestled there with my parents, I found myself entangled in that area currents that has haunted my memories ever since. It all began on a particularly frosty night, though the exact month eludes me. My companions and I were reveling in the festivities of a spirited party in the neighboring town of San Joaquin, a myriad miles from our tranquil abode. Laughter and merriment echoed through the night, carrying us well into the witching hour. As the clock's hands inched past midnight, an altercation arose. A drunken troublemaker and I clashed in a heated dispute, fueled by the spirits we had imbibed. The tumult was quelled by intervening onlookers, yet my resolve to depart was firm. My party partner, the source of my ride, had inexplicably disappeared earlier in the night, leaving me stranded without transport. Despite well-intentioned pleas from friends to remain, my inebriated mind was set on the path homeward. It was an ill-advised decision given the frigid winds that whipped through the darkness that cloaked the highway. Determined, I set my sights on hitchhiking my way back, a decision both treacherous and impulsive. The road stretched on before me, illuminated sporadically by flashes of lightning. The spectral glow of headlights pierced through the veil of night, offering a glimmer of hope. Coming down the passing cars yielded no result, as they sped by without a second glance. The biting cold seeped into my bones, and doubt began to gnaw at my resolve. Round a third of the distance into my ill-fated journey, a realization gnawed at me like a ravenous predator. Regret settled in, a bitter taste mingling with the cold on my lips. Doubts about leaving the party began to fester, whispering that my companion's loneliness might have been a blessing compared to this chilling ordeal. Yet, rekindled as another pair of headlights pierced the darkness, my thumb shot up once more, a desperate plea for salvation. The approaching car mirrored the previous, its momentum unbroken by my plight. My heart sank, sinking deeper into the realization that my situation was growing dire. As despair began to tighten its grip, another vehicle drew near. A cocktail of exhaustion, fear, and desperation fueled my determination. This time, as the car pressed onward, brake lights pierced the night, halting its progress. Relief surged within me, coursing through my veins like a drum. My salvation seemed imminent. My trembling legs carried me toward the idling car. Anxious anticipation mingled with the patter of raindrops, drumming a rhythm of both hope and unease. The driver's door creaked open, and my eager steps faltered. Something was amiss. Dread crawled up my spine as the driver emerged into the storm's maw. The figure that greeted me seemed otherworldly, moving with an uncanny stiffness. My breath caught in my throat as lightning rent the sky, briefly illuminating my interlocutor. His visage resembled a lifeless mannequin, his expression frozen in an unsettling smile. Her knees deepened into primal terror as the passenger door swung open, revealing an equally unnatural figure. A female silhouette emerged, her posture mirroring that of a marionette in a macabre puppet show. Another flash of lightning, and I recoiled from the sight. Her features, too, were reminiscent of a stern mannequin, void of emotion or humanity. Panic seized me, the bounds of reality unraveling before my eyes. In the midst of my mounting horror, a jolt of lightning sliced across the heavens, casting an eerie glow over the scene. I was overcome by an urge to flee, my heart pounding in tempo with the storm's fury. Without a second thought, I sprinted into the nearby cornfield, the tendrils of fear propelling me through the mud and darkness. The very ground seemed to conspire against me. Each step I struggled through would be hard, but terror fueled my desperate flight, carrying me deeper into the labyrinthine core. Only after some time did I pause, gasping for breath amidst the towering stalks. An unsettling rustle echoed behind me, a sinister symphony playing in the night. Dizziness and exhaustion gnawed at my senses as I fought to remain conscious. The memory of the mannequin-like strangers, their emotions and vacant expressions lingered like a curse. The echoes of car doors slammed shut, followed by the distant rumble of an engine, punctuating my solitude. My resolve faltered, and my legs gave way, collapsing amidst the corn. Shivers racked my body, and stunned to the deep-rooted terror that coursed through my veins. I remained there, vulnerable and shaken, for what felt like an eternity. When I finally mustered the courage to leave my hiding place, I retraced my steps, not to the highway, but to San Joaquin. The shadows of that cursed night have cast a long, inescapable pall over my memories. Was it merely a cruel prank? A twisted game orchestrated by sadistic minds? Or did I truly stumble upon a realm where the boundary between the living and the lifeless blurs? To this day, I remain haunted by the surreal nightmare that etched itself into the annals of my past. I've got a tale that still sends shivers down my spine. Now, I'm not entirely certain if what I'm about to recount was a harrowing reality or simply nightmarish figment of my imagination. It's a story that's haunted me for years, and I can't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, it's more than just a story. So, back in the year 2005, when I was only a 12-year-old, I found myself at a friend's house for a sleepover. You know how these things go. Late nights, huddled together sharing ghost stories that make your skin crawl. It was during one of these eerie storytelling sessions that I was introduced to the spine-tingling legend of the Big Lady. Picture this, a woman's body with a face twisted into the grotesque likeness of a pig. The catch was if you had the guts to utter her name 3 times, she'd supposedly emerge from the shadows and chase you down as if plucked from the darkest corners of your nightmares. Naturally, I brushed it off as an old wives' tale. I mean, come on. Faced lady seemed like the stuff of far-fetched fiction. But then, a girl among us claimed, and some of her pals had actually encountered this monstrous entity. She spun a terrifying yarn about a harrowing pursuit through a shadowy forest guided only by the moon's pale light. I maintained my skepticism, but to keep the mood going, I went along with it. Eventually, she dared to do the unthinkable, utter the Big Lady's name 3 times in quick succession. Big Lady, Big Lady, Big Lady. My eyes rolled involuntarily. I was certain nothing would happen. And wouldn't you know it, nothing did. As the night wore on, the stories lost their edge, and we drifted off to sleep. Outside, a storm raged, lightning flashing across the sky, its eerie glow painting the room in irregular bursts. I found myself nestled right beneath the window, no curtains to shield me from the storm's intensity. My friends were already deep in slumber as I lay there, my senses heightened by the storm's symphony. Then, in a fraction of a second, the world outside was illuminated by a blinding bolt of lightning. absorbed in that ephemeral brightness. I could have sworn I glimpsed a figure outside the window. The form was indistinct, yet unmistakable, and just as quickly as I blinked, vanished. Of course, I chalked it up to my imagination running wild in an attempt by my brain to infuse a mundane night with a touch of the supernatural. With resolve, I tried to drift into sleep, convincing myself that morning would come, and the weirdness would evaporate with the morning dew. Morning arrived, but it brought no relief from the eeriness that had crept into the air. My friends, feeling adventurous, decided to make a trip to the store. We set out, joking about the big lady once more. The chatter crescendoed until, compelled by a strange mix of curiosity and bravado, one of my friends dared to chant the name again. Big lady, big lady, big lady. The three of us, carried away by the moment, joined in a cacophony of giggles and echo. And then it happened. The forest path behind us, typically quiet and serene, became a symphony of footsteps, plain but unmistakable. We stopped dead in our tracks, a chill gripping our spines. Do you hear that? One of my friends asked, a tremor in her voice. Fear began to slither into my heart as I listened. The footsteps were real, growing ever closer with every beat of our anxious hearts. A single look exchanged between us, and we knew the footsteps were not just the result of our overactive imaginations. Panic welled up, and as our eyes met, we silently agreed to face our fear head-on. I turned my head, dread cawing in my stomach, and there she was. A figure cloaked in a blue jumpsuit, a baseball cap obscuring her features until, in a hauntingly deliberate motion, she tilted her head up, revealing the unmistakable visage of a pig. Horror gripped me like a vice. An instinct took over. I bolted, my heart racing in synchrony with my pounding footsteps. The woods blurred past me, my friend's terrified screams echoing alongside my own. It felt like a nightmare, but my terror was all too real. Finally, we burst out of the tree lane, stumbling into the safety of the store. Gasping for breath, we dared to cast a backward glance. Nothing. The pig face specter was gone, as if she'd never been. As we huddled inside, still trembling, reality and imagination clashed within us. We called our friend's mom, claiming some stranger had been watching us. To this day, we maintain that it was all in our heads, a shared hallucination triggered by the stories we told. Yet the questions remain. How could three minds conjure the same nightmare? How did the mysterious figure vanish without a trace? We dodged questions, choosing to bury them deep in the recesses of our minds, haunted by the eerie possibility that maybe, just maybe, the pig lady isn't confined to our imagination alone. Back in the early 2019s, a spine-chilling incident unfolded in the vast expanse of South Dakota, casting an eerie shadow over my older cousin's memory. This chilling tale stems from an area called Gold Creek, a remote and isolated region located 6 miles south and 2 miles east of St. Francis. With a history shrouded in tales of otherworldly occurrences, this place was home to mysterious ghouls, each harboring its own secrets. One fateful Friday evening, an aura of excitement enveloped the air as my cousin and a group of relatives gathered for what seemed like a harmless drinking party. The jovial atmosphere echoed with laughter and clinking glasses. But as the hours rolled on, the supply of beer began to dwindle, prompting a decision that would unwittingly set the stage for a terrifying encounter. It was my cousin and his son who drew the short straw, tasked with embarking on a journey to the nearby bordering town of Kilgore, nestled in Nebraska, some 10 miles south of Bull Creek. Little did they know that this seemingly routine quest for more beer would let them down a path of inexplicable dread. The night was already draped in darkness as they set out, the headlights of their vehicle cutting through the obsidian void. Around 2 miles into their journey, a sight befell them that would forever haunt their memories. Emerging from the shadows, a man and a woman, appearing almost like specters. ambled along the side of the road. My cousin slowed the car and, with the genuine hospitality of the Lakota people, extended an offer to provide them a ride. "Get in," he called out, but to his astonishment, the figures simply vanished into thin air, leaving nothing behind but an unsettling shiver that coursed through his veins. Pushing aside his graying knees, my cousin pressed on, resolute in his mission. The town of Kilgore beckoned, its twinkling lights a distant beacon. Yet, as the car devoured the miles, the same inexplicable scene replayed itself. The man and woman materialized once more, this time further down the road. The car came to a halt, and my cousin, in a mix of confusion and concern, extended his offer of assistance once more. But like a cruel trick, the figures evaporated into the night, leaving behind an unnerving emptiness. Fueled by a mix of trepidation and determination, my cousin reached Kilgore, procured a much-needed beer, and set forth on the journey back. The night air had grown colder, and the thick tension hung in the air. Returning to the party, you counted the spine-tingling events that had transpired on the road. A hushed silence settled over the gathering as they exchanged wary glances, the spectral encounter casting a pall over the festivities. Gathered around the dim light of a solitary lantern, one brave soul summoned the courage to light a sage stick, its fragrant smoke curling upwards like a shield against the unknown. The night wore on, the tales of the eerie hitchhikers casting a haunting shadow over the Merriman. As the first light of dawn broke, the party dissipated, each person retreating to the safety of their homes, the cautionary whispers echoing in their ears. The years that followed, whispers of similar encounters would occasionally arise. Brave souls who dared to traverse the dark road at night would share tales of encountering the enigmatic waters, only to see them vanish into thin air. The stories circulated through word of mouth, weaving a tapestry of fear that extended beyond the realm of logic or explanation. A consensus emerged among the locals, echoing the age-old warning: under no circumstances should anyone walk that accursed road after nightfall, whether under the influence or sober, for fear of encountering the ghostly walkers. This haunting narrative was passed down to me in 2020, recounted by my cousin's wife. Despite the undeniable terror that laced each retelling, the allure of Kilgore's forbidden ways remained unchanged. The road to Kilgore still saw its share of travelers, undeterred by the chilling tale of the vanishing hitchhikers. So, the legend of Bold Creek and its spectral walkers endures, a sinister and cautionary reminder that some stories, no matter how terrifying, are destined to endure through the passage of time. Picture this was July 1996, in the heart of the serene Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada. My husband and I had recently embarked on a new adventure, purchasing a quaint country home that nestled itself amidst the tranquil expanse. The surroundings were straight out of a pastoral dream, rolling hills and dairy farms, a peaceful escape from the bustle of city life. However, the serenity of this idyllic setting would soon be shattered by an unsettling series of events that unfolded right within the walls of our supposedly peaceful haven. Our initial weeks in the house were a tapestry of calmness, until that fateful night when the tranquility was pierced by a jarring disturbance. In the dead of night, we were jolted awake by the sounds of vehement arguing voices, seemingly belonging to the women who clashed in the darkness. Disoriented and alarmed, we sprang from our beds, frantically scouring both the interior and the exterior of the house for the source of the turmoil. To our bewilderment, an eerie stillness hung heavy in the air, as if the night itself held its breath. We reasoned that even the neighbors' vigilant dog should have been stirred by such a commotion, and the Motium sensor lights ought to have danced to life if any presence lurked nearby. Yet all remained silent, shrouding the incident in an unsettling enigma. Days passed, the unease of that night settling like an unwelcome guest in the back of our minds, just as we began to convince ourselves that it might happen been a mere figment of exhausting full imagination. The inexplicable reared its head once more. Like a haunting lullaby, we roused from our slumber in the early hours of morning by the tantalizing aroma of freshly brewed coffee and warm bread. Despite our hopeful expectations, the kitchen was a canvas of emptiness, the enticing sense of fantasies that defied explanation. This baffling occurrence became a recurring theme, a daily routine that wove mystery into the fabric of our lives. Then came the chilling moments with a touch of innocence. Whenever our grandchildren graced us with their playful presence, our yard transformed into their kingdom of laughter. Yet, when their joyful echoes retreated and the house settled into quietude, a ghostly sobbing would haunt the air. We would peer through windows and scan the yard, but the echoes were ethereal, an unseen child's sorrow lingering in the spaces between reality and the unexplainable. It was as if the spectral essence of a child yearned for the echoes of their innocence, a bittersweet longing that tethered them to our world. In my quest for answers, I delved into ghostly tales bound between the pages of books, their words offering guidance on bridging the ethereal and corporeal realms. Armed with courage, I reach out to the unknown, whispering reassurances to the unseen child. Grandma is coming. I murmur into the shadows, hoping that my voice could span the divide and provide solace to the restless spirit. And like a ripple fading into still waters, the cry ceased. I can only speculate whether my words extended a comforting hand or if time itself granted the elusive closure the spirit sought. But the haunting never ceased entirely. These inexplicable events lingered throughout our stay in that rural dwelling. In time, we discovered that our abode held secrets in its very structure, as we opted for a new roof. The craftsman unveiled a grim tale etched in scorch marks, signs of a fire that had raged through the kitchen area. A sinister incident that seemed to cast shadows on the unsettling occurrences that had plagued us. Eventually, we relinquished our ties to that enigmatic house, telling it to new occupants. Their decision to replace the house entirely with a new one left the mysteries unburdened, leaving the puzzle pieces of its history scattered in the wind. I can't help but wonder what stories that old home held within its walls, and whether the spectral tales we encountered were mere whispers of its forgotten past. There it is, a tale of an innocuous country home that transformed into a theater of the uncanny, leaving us to contemplate the thin veil between the mundane and the supernatural. A timeless reminder that some riddles are destined to remain unanswered, concealed within the shadows of history. Back in January of 2001, I embarked on a new chapter of my life by moving into a seemingly quaint home. Little did I know the unsettling events that would unfold would forever etch this place into my memory. It was a frigid winter's night when I first heard a chilling, wavering voice that seemed to emerge from the depths of the unknown, calling out for someone named John. Startled from my slumber, I sat up in bed, heart racing, as the voice echoed through the darkness. Confused and somewhat unnerved, I scanned the room, my eyes desperately seeking the source of this eerie summons. Curiosity and unease prompted me to approach the window, peering out into the night. The coldness sent shivers down my spine, but there was no one to be seen. The streets were deserted, the world covered in an icy silence. Returning to my bed, I hoped that was the last of it, but the voice persisted. Night after night, the unsettling calls for John continued, each time sending shivers down my spine. Frustration mingled with fear as I dared to address the presence that had invaded my home. I summoned the courage to command the voice to depart, asserting my ownership of the house. Time passed, and the voice eventually ceased its haunting summons, offering a brief respite from the uncanny occurrences. Months later, I decided to delve into the history of my home, spurred by a conversation with my neighbor. In sharing my experiences, I learned that a family had resided in this very house for over 2 decades, including a son named John. Tragedy had befallen them, The mother had passed away, and the house changed hands. John, described as an alcoholic, would now be well into his later years. However, the unsettling events were far from over. My 8-year-old granddaughter, Jenny, who shared the house with me, became an unwitting participant in this ghostly saga. She would approach me with wide eyes, recounting how she had awoken in the dead of night, sensing a presence by her bedside, the same presence that had haunted my own nights. Objects began to inexplicably vanish, only to reappear as if they were playing a sinister game. This peculiar dance of the supernatural continued for a year, until a morning arrived that would forever deepen the shadows within these walls. Jenny, her voice trembling, informed me that the ghost had visited her again during the night. Panic welled within me as I rushed upstairs to find her in my bed. Terror shone her face. She described the apparition, a petite woman with dark hair, a description eerily similar to the mother who had once inhabited this very house. Jenny recounted a touch on her leg, followed by an inexplicable tingling sensation that coursed through her body. As the years flowed by, my son and his 2-year-old son joined our household. Strangely, history repeated itself. Objects vanished, only to reappear, and my son felt an unseen presence watching over him during the night. The unsettling truth began to crystallize. The presence that had haunted this house was no mere figment of imagination. It was a persistent, inexplicable force. Now, with a sense of resignation and understanding, we coexist with this spectral entity. My nights are often accompanied by an eerie feeling, as though the air itself carries a weight of the unknown. Through time, it seems that an uneasy truce has been forged between the living and the spirit that lingers within these walls. In this house, where the boundaries between our world and the ethereal blur, we found a way to navigate the unexplainable and accept that which defies all reason. Get ready to hear a spine-chilling story that still gives me the creeps whenever I think about it. These hair-raising experiences I'm about to share happened to me not just once, but twice. And they're separated by many years. Buckle up, my friend, because this first event goes way back to around 1993 when I was just a teenager, around 16 years old. Picture this, I was chilling at my home in Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada. It was a typical day, so I thought. So there I was alone, lounging on the back deck, totally engrossed in a book. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end as I began to pick up on this strange, eerie noise. It started faint, almost like a distant echo, but it was unmistakably there. It was this peculiar blend of animal cries and human-like whimpering, sort of like a little child crying, but with a twisted, unnatural twist to it. Try to imagine a hybrid between a lost puppy's yelp and a young kid's sob. Yeah, it was that unsettling. Naturally, I put my book aside, my heart pounding like a drum, and I scanned the yard from the deck, my eyes darting around to locate the source of this bone-chilling sound. But here's the kicker, the sound grew louder and closer, as if something were creeping up on me. Yet there was nothing there. It felt as if whatever was producing that spine-tingling noise was right on the brink of revealing itself, just a few feet away. But every time I turned to look, there was nothing to see. The terror was building up inside me. I mustered up the courage to descend into the yard with my loyal little companion, determined to uncover the truth behind this freaky phenomenon. But the moment my feet hit the front yard, the noise abruptly ceased, leaving me with an unsettling sense of emptiness. I scoured the area, squinting into the darkness, but it was as if the source of the sound had vanished into thin air. However, my dog had a very different reaction. She was acting as if she could see something lurking nearby, barking and growling at the floor next to the house. The hairs on my arms prickled as I realized I was in the middle of something I couldn't explain or understand. I even poked around the floor bed, hoping to find a logical explanation. but nothing. It was like a classic ghost story, but I was living it. As the night wore on, we all tried to shake off the unease. I was watching TV with my mom and sister when a sound at the window that I can only describe as fingernails on glass, but went in slow, like something from a nightmare. I swear, that sound was etched into my memory, and the three of us were scared out of our wits. None of us dared to peer outside, so we forced my dad to be the brave soul to check. But guess what? He found absolutely nothing. The noise was written off as mischievous kids playing tricks on us, but deep down, we knew it was something else entirely. Now, brace yourself for a time jump to 2003. Fast forward, I'm in a different house in Surrey, British Columbia, living with my husband, our 10-month-old son. We'd only been there for about 2 months, but I was about to learn that some terrors refuse to stay in the past. This time, I wasn't alone. My son was in the living room, happily playing behind baby gates that were supposed to keep him safe. I was in the kitchen, minding my own business at the sink, when I heard it again, that dreadful crying sound. My heart sank. I'd only heard it once before, back in '93, but it was etched in my memory like a nightmare. Here's the kicker. This time, it was even more sinister. My immediate thought was that something was wrong with my son, but when I rushed to check, he was silent, not making a peep. And the sound, it was getting louder, more intense, as if it were crawling its way toward me. The sound seemed to crawl up the stairs, from the ground level, growing stronger as it got closer. It was like something out of a horror movie, where the protagonist can't escape the advancing evil. I was frozen at the top of the stairs, goosebumps crawling all over my skin, unable to move. I could hear the chilling noise move through the kitchen and head for the back door. My heart was pounding like crazy, and I felt like I was in the middle of some paranormal vortex. And then, just as abruptly as it began, the sound stopped. But the horror didn't end there. My cat, usually a cool and collected feline, was now a jittery mess. He refused to go near that kitchen door, the same one he had been using without shoes since we moved in. It was like he could sense something I couldn't. A shiver ran down my spine as I remembered the flow of that incident from years ago. It felt like history was repeating itself, and I was trapped in a never-ending loop of terror. But wait, it gets even spookier. Flashback to a time before I was even born, around 1962. My grandparents had their own unnerving encounter. Sitting at their kitchen table, they were taunted by a crying sound that... My friends, let me tell you a tale that will send shivers down your spine. Picture this, I was a mere 14 years old, living in a quiet, remote town nestled in the heart of northern Michigan. Now, my closest companion, a spirited soul named Missy, was a few years older at 17. We shared a bond stronger than steel, spending our weekends together, reveling in the eerie charm of our quaint surroundings. Our weekends together were the stuff of legend. Cards clacked, TV flickered, and walks around the small, mysterious lake that formed the heart of our town were our favorite pastimes. But let me tell you about the chilling whispers that haunted those nights. The nights when we discovered that there was more to our idyllic realm than met the eye. You see, Missy had a tale that she spun like a haunting melody too. Captivated audiences, her parents, other friends, and even to me. It was a tale that sent a shudder down your spine. A tale of babies crying in the night. She'd recount how, like a mournful serenade, the cries of infants would drift through her window, echoing along the hallways of her home. Her bedroom, perched on the lonely second floor, was the sole sanctuary amidst the eerie symphony. Now, don't get me wrong. I wasn't one to scoff at such tales. No, I was a believer, if only a silent one. I couldn't fathom Missy weaving such a story for attention or amusement. Our bond ran deeper than that. So, I'd nod and listen, My thoughts are whirlwind of curiosity and I must admit, a hint of unease. The words "that's weird" danced on the tip of my tongue. I swallowed them down. Our routine remained unchanged for a while. Days spent absorbed in life's simple pleasures, and nights punctuated by Missy's chilling narrative, until that fateful night when the ethereal realm of her tale seeped into reality, gripping us both in its icy fingers. In the shadowy embrace of her room, atop a mound of pillows and blankets, I waited as the darkness deepened around us. The silence was palpable, and then, like a brushstroke on the canvas of night, it began. The cries, the haunting wails of babies, fragile and mournful, reach our aid. Their origin a mystery as profound as the cosmos itself. "Missy," I whispered, my voice trembling like a leaf in the wind. "I hear them." Her reply was a balm to my racing heart. "Don't worry, it'll cease soon." And so, in that cocoon of darkness we waited, our breaths held in anticipation. The chorus of cries twisted and turned, sometimes one lonely sob, and other times a cacophony of voices. A chorus of anguish that seemed to beckon from another world. Minutes turned to eternity as we remained ensnared in this macabre symphony. But as with all tales, this to reach its crescendo, the cries, after what felt like an eternity, faded into the abyss, and the weight that had settled on my chest lifted. "I don't hear them anymore," I murmured, my voice tinged with both relief and exhaustion. We drifted into sleep, unaware of the door we had nudged ajar into the realm of the supernatural. From that night forth, my belief in ghosts was etched into my soul. Not just because I'd heard their mournful voices myself, but because Missy and I had shared the chilling experience, as if the spirits had chosen to reveal themselves to us, and us alone. Yet, dear listener, one detail remains shrouded in mystery. We never unraveled the enigma behind those spectral cries, the history of those unseen infants, the reason for their tormented presence. It remains a puzzle, a reminder that some secrets are meant to linger in the darkness, eating our fascination with the unknown. For more bone-chilling narratives that will keep you at the edge of your seat, subscribe to my channel. By doing so, you'll gain access to a growing collection of real-life horror stories that will both captivate and energize your senses. Join the community of fellow enthusiasts, and together, let's explore the eerie unknown. Subscribe now, and prepare for more terror-themed true tales that will leave you craving more.